Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In SINoALICE, let's do the final kimono fashion check video. These are from various images that I found online. As usual, the quality of the kimono representations is very accurate, and so I don't need to talk a lot about how they are wrong and how I would fix them. Instead, we can talk about things like colors or patterns or like Western editions. First, we have Little Mermaid. She is wearing the kimono with the extra long sleeves. That's for younger women. And then very Japanese overall, except for like the bow in the hair. And then no real kind of inaccurate stuff, except for like sort of the kind of the flower petal or maybe like a fishtail detail on the bottom of her kimono. That's pretty obviously a reference to the Little Mermaid thing. And then the socks, the tabi socks that she's wearing. Quite long, quite high, almost to the calf. But the base color of her kimono and like the obi and the accessories, it is kind of a dark blue, navy blue, with a wave motif on it. Pretty cool and pretty straightforward. Okay, next we have Pinocchio. I am super happy about this kimono, partly because this may be his most masculine costume in the game. But let's talk about the kimono first, that almost solid black. Men's kimono is very kind of light on the kind of the additional motifs or patterns, and so we see this is mostly solid black, but with a little bit of like diamonds around the lower half. And then the obi tied around the middle, that is very thin compared to women's obi, which is very wide up and down. And then it's tied in the back, so we don't see a knot there. And then over the black kimono, he is wearing a green haori coat with like a barley or rye motif on there. That's interesting. And then it's connected in the front by that little rope, which is traditional for the haori coats. And then the tabi socks, those are in black. That's a semi-common color for tabi socks. However, those shoes, those are more for women there. Men, they don't really wear the shoes where it's very rounded. They wear more kind of a square footbed with their shoes. So that is a bit of a feminine touch here, but kind of the only one. And then we have some Western accessories, which kind of makes me think this is maybe from the Taisho era of Japan, around the 1930s or so. But a Western hat, and then a Western scarf or muffler, and then we can see just a peek of a white dress shirt underneath the kimono. That was a popular style during the Taisho era, to mix, you know, Western and Eastern garments together. But yeah, love this costume. Alright, next we have Sleeping Beauty. Hers is very Japanese and then accurate in all the details, except for a little bit of kind of a lace trim to the haori coat that we see kind of going down her front. That's a little bit of a Western touch, but yeah, everything else about it could definitely pass as very traditionally Japanese. But we see kind of base colors of like white and gold with purple accessories. And then we see a lot of kind of like matchy-matchy as far as like color palette with these kimonos so far. But actually with the kimono, there's a lot of clashing, or like what you would consider clashing if we were looking at it from a Western point of view. But with kind of traditional Japanese ways of thinking on color coordination, it's not strange at all to have very clashing color combinations. Okay, here we have a little match girl, and here I can point to something that is structurally a little bit suspicious. That sort of a contrast kind of stripe going down her middle, and then also going to the openings of like where her kimono is, also kind of doubling as the scarf up there. But it's going down the middle of her front, between her two legs. This is not how kimono are built. If you were to get a kimono made on the regular pattern, and then wear it normally, that neon green would be on the right side. It would, you know, come way over to the side of your body. But they're kind of showing it this way to sort of accentuate the difference between the right and the left, which I can forgive. Wouldn't be super practical in real life though, because it might open a little bit too easily and then show your legs. And then she's wearing some boots. That's not unusual to wear with a kimono. That has been a style since, again, the Taisho era, when a lot of Western styles were introduced to Japan. And then it looks like that she is carrying a large arrow. We can go to temples and then buy good luck charms. And then one of them is an arrow, kind of like this. And it has that placard made of wood and then some bells on there. So yeah, that's like a good luck charm. Alright, here we have Rapunzel. And then she has the most sort of like Western influenced kimono. Kind of similar to the Three Little Pigs in the previous video, which I'll link to below. But from the waist down, this is all Western, and from the waist up, it's all Japanese. But her too, with the longer sleeves, good for younger women, and then a little bit of a kind of a ruffle detail around the collar of her kimono. And then the lower half, yeah, we see lots of pleats and ruffles, high stockings, garters, that kind of thing. So, interesting mix of West and East. Alright, here we have Hamlin, who looks great, which is very different from the previous costume of Hamlin. I'll link to that video below as well. His look here is very formal, but there are aspects of it that are very casual as well. But he's wearing the full set. He's wearing the kimono, which is kind of that very light, almost gray color around his chest. And then over that, he's wearing the hakama poofy pants, that kind of flat purple with the pleats there. And then over that, he's wearing the haori coat, which has sort of that medium purple with the black and gold trim. But yeah, proportions here look good. The construction looks good of like the collar pieces and like where the hakama poofy pants are tied in the front. We can see kind of a cross tie with the bow there in the front. I'll link to a video where I put on a hakama and I can show you how that is tied. And like the length of the hakama looks good. You want it to be kind of hit you right at the ankle bones. Length of the sleeves is good. You want that to hit you at the wrist bones. So yeah, much better than the previous kimono that we looked at for Hamlin. That was a yukata, a summer one. But also pattern-wise, this is kind of more in line with your typical male kimono, where it's more kind of solid colors or like a very, almost like a texture rather than a pattern that we see on the kimono there. And then like one Western accessory in the muffler around the neck for a little bit of interest there. Carrying a fan in his right hand. One thing that I think is inaccurate about these men's holiday coats that we see on Pinocchio and Hamlin here is that we see that black, that contrast color there. The contrast color, that should be the same color. I'll let that slide for here. But that part where the belt is attached to in the across the front, that is actually attached from within the coat, and you actually fold the collar back. This collar does not look like it is folded back, so minor quibble there, but yeah. Devil is in the details. Oh, and he is wearing white gloves. That's another Western accessory there. Okay, and finally we have Gretel. I'm not totally sure that this is official artwork. I was looking at like banners for Hatchers and I never found one for this version. And there's like no other characters to go with this one. But it looks so much like the official artist, and then the kimono itself is so interesting that I included it. But yeah, this is another mix of male and female. First, let's look at the kimono, that kind of warmish gray with sort of like a blocky sort of Tetris-looking pattern on there. That color is fairly common for men's kimono, but that pattern, although it's light, I could imagine this being sold or available to men. And then we look at the obi. Before, with Pinocchio, we saw just a straight line across. That was because the knot was in the back. Here, the knot is in the front, and then it's very undone. So we have a lot of it kind of hanging down, trailing down. The men's obi, it is quite long, so it can wrap around you many times. But if you're only to wrap it around, say, once, you could create this knot very long in the front. We got the toppy socks, white, that's just standard. We have rounded shoes again, that's kind of a feminine touch there. We have the fan tucked into the obi. That is something that males often do with their kimono. And then I'm looking at the neck. It's actually looking like he's wearing two inner kimonos, which is unusual, but maybe this is during cold weather. And then, unlike wearing a haori kimono like the other two male characters, Gretel here is just wearing a women's kimono as an overcoat, and then just leaving it open. So very, very cool look. And then, yeah, mixing the male and the female. We see semi-long sleeves. This is not the longest that we would see on a women's kimono, but we can see that it's trailing very much on the ground. In all of the previous female kimonos that we've seen, there's kind of a fold underneath the obi. That is to accommodate this extra length. Women's kimono is only made to one length, and so the wearer has to fold it under in order to match with their own height. And we're seeing what happens with a kimono if it's just left undone. But yeah, very understated, very kind of harmonious color combinations, except for that sort of aquamarine going through the obi and then flying around the back like in an arrow shape. And then a little bit of a hair accessory there, which is another feminine touch. So yeah, also very, very cool kimono here. This one and then the Pinocchio kimono I think maybe are my favorites. Okay, that'll do it for the fashion checks for SINoALICE. I enjoyed doing this just because they were so well done and accurately done. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.